this is supposed to be a running motor. They go run like that. Oh man, that ain't no good. Man, I'm just gonna have to. Oh, hey, how you guys doing? I think it's stuck. Just froze like a drum. Might need to put a little lubes in them cylinders, right? Little squirty. These spark plugs out. Put something in them. Some kind of lubage. Oh, that's not good at all. Let me just put that back in there. Jeez. It'll be fine. Maybe someday. Probably not. Let's see what doesn't come out of here or does. Yeah, that's not good. That's water. Water. Great. Well, the pan's loose. The guy I got it from said he had the pan off and it had a forged crank, and you know. And I think he put it outside for a couple years. The marvels of the mysteries in the oil says unleash the power. Well, I hope so. Let's get some stuff in these cylinder A's. Let them soak overnight or so, or for the next 10 years. Has water in it, or had water in it. Give them cylinders a chance to loosen up. Let me find some old spark plug stick in there, flip it over to the other side. We're going to talk about this little gem in the rough, or whatever they say. Dang it. Next day. So I did some looking, a little researching. So this number here, 3892657, is a 302, 327, or 350. So it's not a 302 because it's not going to be. It's not going to be a 350 because a 350 had a bolt and a threaded hole. This has kind of a hole there inside the crank, but it's not threaded. So that tells me this is a 327. And the reason I say that is because that number 6YS or YS is a C10 to 35, so C10 to C35 truck, which explains the steel crank, just 2-bolt mains, the cylinder heads by this number are a closed chamber small valve head, nothing special. There's no humps or bumps. I however do have a pair of fuelie heads that have been redone by, I believe it was a machinist that worked at Andretti Racing. That's the rumor, whatever. They're 202 valve, they got good numbers. We'll go over that later, so I'm not worried about the heads. But it's soaked overnight, so let's get set up and see if it, you know. This engine has sat. If it was in a farm truck, any kind of truck, could have been it wasn't really taken care of. It doesn't look like it's been apart. That's a good thing. Bought this from a buddy of mine. I don't remember how much. It was probably too much. You know, he worked at a machine shop at the time and said, yeah, it's got a steel crank. It's good engine to build. And it probably is, but I didn't know it was locked up. And it may not have been when he looked at it, but it sat in the back of his truck or outside or something and got water in it. Nope. I mean, the pan's off and I've looked. The pan has some sludgy stuff in it. No metal. None of the rods look broke. So I guess we're pulling these cylinder heads off. Yep. I've seen some old small block Chevys, but I never really seen one with that on it. Truck thing. It did have a thermostat in it, and it looks pretty nasty inside there. We got all the bolts out. Well, some of them didn't like coming out, but I got them. See, we have our little draft tube right here, and right here's where you put your oil in, and there's an air breather there. They stopped that sometime in '68, best I can tell. No, I don't know. I'm just doing my online internet's researches, right? And I'll tell you, I've been a technician for 36 years. Done a lot of engine work on Chrysler stuff. One thing I've never done is a small block Chevy. I worked on a lot of them, more when I was a kid, but I never had built one. So I'm kind of excited because that's what I always wanted to do, you know. I don't know if I can get something in there. Might need a bigger hammer. Or a hammer. It says I'm not worried about this intake. Appears to be the original intake. I can run the numbers down and see if it is, but not that it really matters. Wonder what we'll find in here. Nothing real crazy. It didn't come with rocker shafts or rocker arms. It only came with one valve cover, so that tells me somebody was figuring out that it was locked up and thinking they had a valve stuck. I'm going to almost bet that was the story. And this push rod is basically frozen here because it's sat there for so long. So that tells me this had been locked up the whole entire time. And we'll get new push rods and rocker arms and get all that stuff dialed in, because what I always wanted was a hot, rowdy little small block. As long as this one's buildable, that's kind of what I'm getting at. All right, let me get these manifolds off and I'll turn you back on. This manifold pretty much came off. This one here, it's got two broken bolts in it. So the heads are just broke off, so that means they're frozen into the side of the manifold. That's why they're broke off. So I'm letting them soak, then prying on them. But we got this one ready to come off, so I figured I'd just, real quick, I broke them loose by hand just so I could feel the torque in each one of them. So they seemed all about the same, so you know, there's nothing funny with a cracked head or a block all funny, at least as a preliminary, you know. Bolts out of here. Pop this puppy off, see what it looks like in here. At least see half of it tonight. Might have to get this manifold heated up to get it off. Oop. That was a little easier than I thought. Come on out of here. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty cruddy in there. The heads look okay, just as far as cylinder heads. Nothing's been in there beating around. But I can definitely see why it's not moving. See a little bit of your ridge right there. And you can also see where there's a fluid line right there. So I had something sitting in it. Doesn't look amazingly rusty except for right on top right there. There's a little bit of a ridge, but it's not bad. If I'd like to get these pistons out, see if this is going to be a honeable thing or a boreable thing. Pretty nasty looking though. Nasty sludgy stuff in there. That's been water mixed with oil for a long time. All right. Kind of sweaty. It's a warm March day in Indiana.
$1 box of silver and the next holiday time in Chicken Town tonight. Rest of the time in Chicken Town tonight. Rest of the time in Chicken Town tonight. Well, Duck, she's dancing, she don't care. Mallard's off on a whiskey there. Rest of the time in Chicken Town tonight. Time in Chicken Town tonight. Where's better time in Chicken Town tonight? Well, the mice are rolling, itty bitty dice. The cute never touch it, you don't play nice. Better time in Chicken Town tonight. Where's better time in Chicken Town tonight? Where's better time in Chicken Town tonight? Well, the coop's set up, kegs rolled in. Where you going? Where you been? Better time in Chicken Town tonight. Time in Chicken Town tonight. Just at a time in Chicken Town tonight. Well, the coop set up, kegs rolled in. Where you going? Where you been? For the time in Chicken Town tonight. Well, for the time in Chicken Town tonight. Well, for the time in Chicken Town tonight.
I don't smell like that. I don't guess. There. We get this head ready to take off. Let's see what this one looks like. Even worse. Yep. I say there's our culprit cylinder right there. Chunks of rust. Bad, bad, bad. More than likely, that's the cylinder that's going to make this get bored over.
which that's fine. I was kind of half expecting it, but I was being wishful, you know. I mean, the cylinder's really, that's the shame of it. It's not that worn. This is probably a runnable engine until that happened. All right, boys and girls, so got quite the mess here. I'm gonna soak this cylinder down. All of them, actually. I've got to play with them there Pumpkin Holler boys tomorrow night. Got to work Saturday, and I'll be out here Saturday night to hopefully get this thing tore apart. That's what I want to do. So we might as well let them soak while it's going to be sitting here idle.
It's Saturday. Played with Pumpkin Holler boys last night, so I wasn't out here at all. Let the soakinage soak, I guess. But just to get a little closer view on all this gunk and roughness was just red rust. Well, now it's turned into black oily rust. Still doesn't budge. The rest of the cylinders appear okay. You know, there might be a broke wrist pin dug a hole in a piston. This one was full of oil for some reason, and the one that had the weird, looked like a water line going across the top. It's hard telling. Somebody might have put stuff in these cylinders thinking they were going to let it soak. It wasn't me till recently anyway. So I might find a piece of wood, tappy. I think it's at the very bottom of the stroke though, unfortunately. Maybe not. I'll have to look. I'll look at the connecting rod. If it doesn't want to budge, we got to take it all apart, get the crank out of it, because I'd like to save the block, even though it's going to need machined, the crank, and the rods. I don't like these pistons anyway. They're dished. Low compressions. That piston is rocking. That one moves. I felt it. I swore I felt it move just a little. It's not quite at the bottom of its stroke, and I don't want to hit on the connecting rod up. I imagine most of the rust is going to be on top of the piston. Maybe a little inside the rings, but I'd rather it go down. That piston's moving a little bit. It's gone down. Yeah, it moved a little bit. Yep, there it goes. PB blasters. There we go, look at that. Phew. This is hitting the, let me back that off. There we go. We'll clean that rust out of there a little bit, see if I can get her bypassing. Whew. Pretty rough stuff in there. There we go. All right, found a Kentucky metric. My dad's side of the family's from Kentucky. I can say stuff like that. You probably can't tell though. Huh. All right. We'll probably have to. I probably should have done this before I broke the motor loose. Let's see here. That fit here at top. Needs it popped loose. There we go. Looks like this balancer is in pretty good shape. I'll show you that here in just a sec. Excuse me. Well, safe to say it didn't need a bolt. The bolt's handy to put it back on though, I know that. Otherwise you got to beat her on there with a hammer. That ain't cool. There we go. It's kind of funny. You see this groove right here. The seal rides down here, so that groove's supposed to be there, I'm supposing. Nah, this balancer's not any good. See the rubber? This is metal. This is metal. Well, there's rubber in between. It absorbs vibration with this weight on the outside flexing on that rubber. We'll see how that rubber's sticking out and it's all cracked. No good. There we go. Timing cover's off. Pretty sure that this is a original timing chain. Look at that. Sloppy, sloppy. 3 bolts, half inch headed, 7/16 threads, I guess. Let's see if I can. Look. She wants to stay on there. There we go. It's all there. No pieces. I want to show you guys, as far as I know, there should be marks on the side that show what cylinder or something. What I've done, mark. That means this half goes with this half. And right on the flat surface, I've got a mark at the front, so all of them is going to have this mark. Then cylinder number is 1. So the next one, mark forward 1, 2. Then it's also marked. I have to make sure it's marked so that the halves stay together. It doesn't matter, but I want to know that the cap goes forward and the halves stay the same. There's another one there. That's cylinder 4, and it's got the mark towards the front. So I'll make sure I do all of these as I take them apart. Number 1, nuts are off. There's that cap, doesn't want to come off. Brass hammer, tappy tappy. Don't look that bad. Looks pretty good. They're wore out. No big gouges. Nothing like that. Crank's gonna need some polishing. So I can get this piston out the rest of the way. Use the butt of the hammer. There we go. Wrist pin. No play. It's probably pretty dry. See, it's starting to loosen up now. There we go. It's got some wear in it. See, these rings aren't seized or anything. This probably would have been a running engine. Alright. You can see, well, the way it is. See the copper and brass, whatever it is. So they're worn. This engine definitely had some miles on her. So let me find my dots. Right there. And right there. Right? See, I'll store it with my dots. Just use the center punch. Tink, tink. Put my nuts on it. Hold it all together. I'm good to go. Take the rest of it apart. Alrighty, well, there's the bad one. See the pitting? Yep. So that could be the detriment to this whole block. It just kind of depends on how much it takes to take out. They might say, well, it's going to cost you just to try it and then see if it ain't too big. I don't know. It's going to have to go to the machine shop. It's too bad though, because the rest of the cylinders, really, you know, I'd probably used a ridge reamer and dingle ball honed it and put standard pistons and rings in it. This one was, you can tell it had been a little rusty, but I don't think that wouldn't have been bad enough to clean up. Here's our piston. I believe there's this one. You know, those pistons will probably end up being alright. Like I said, I'm not going to use them. There was one other one, that one right there. That was number 7, the one that was rusted a little bit. The rest of them just look like this. Pretty normal. Just dirty. Needed rings. Needed valve seals. Needed set of bearings. Really just rod bearings, not even main bearings, but you know. Alright, so there you go. We got a $500 junkyard engine, basically, frozen, unstuck. I think we'll spend a couple grand maybe at the machine shop. Probably a little more than that in parts and pistons and, you know, $4,000. Might have a hot little motor here for this 57. So next video or two, we're going to get on this 57. Got to do the bottom of the floor, do the top of the floor, get it back on its cart so we can get it outside. Get it outside, we get back on the MGA, get this thing painted. That's what we got to do. I got to have room. But I want the machine shop to have this as long as they need it, and maybe let them store it for a while. Yep. So you guys just tell me down there in the comments, what do you think? Fix it or not? Do I get the 454 out and spend 4 or 5 grand on it to make it a hot big block that's harder to put in the 57 Chevy? You know, here or there, I guess. All right, we'll see you guys hopefully next week. Like I said, vacation, don't know. I'll have something to put your eyeballs on though, I promise you. Junk out. Ed, put your pants back on, buddy. Jeez.